Everyone tells the same story about Chinese cars, and the story is wrong. Or at least, it's the comfortable half of the truth. The story goes, they're cheap, they undercut everybody, they win on price. And sure, fine, I've made videos about $10,000 hatchbacks, and I'll make more, because that part is real. But price is the easy explanation. Price is the version you can shrug at, because deep down you tell yourself you get what you pay for, and the cheap car probably feels cheap, and your expensive American vehicle is expensive for reasons. So today, I want to take that comfort away from you. Because the 5 cars I'm about to show you are not cheap. Some of them cost real money. What they have instead is hardware that you physically cannot buy from an American automaker right now, at any price, in any showroom, with any amount of money on the table. Not a cheaper version of what we have. A different generation of what we have. Chassis systems, sensor arrays, and computing power that Detroit doesn't offer on its flagship, doesn't offer as an option, and in several cases has not announced at all. Steering systems with no mechanical connection to the wheels. Suspension that adjusts each corner independently over 800 volts. Cars carrying more autonomous driving silicon than anything shipping from Michigan, Germany, or Japan this year. That's the part of this story nobody wants to say out loud, so I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes saying it. 5 cars, counting up to the one with a sensor suite that reads like science fiction, and I'd recommend staying to the end because number 1 genuinely rearranged how I think about this whole industry. Subscribe if you want more of this, because I've decided my new hobby is finding things that upset me and then telling all of you about them. Number 5. The Wey V9X. Great Wall Motors flagship SUV, priced from 371,800 yuan, so call it around 52,000 US dollars in Chinese money terms, which puts it right in Tahoe and Wagoneer territory. And here's the feature I want to talk about because it sounds boring until you understand what it does. Rear wheel steering, standard. Not optional, not a package, not reserved for the top trim. Standard equipment. The rear wheels turn up to 10 degrees in either direction, and the result is a turning radius of 5.1 meters. That's about 16.7 feet. Now here's why that number should stop you. A Honda Civic, a compact sedan, needs roughly 17.5 feet to turn around. So this large 3-row SUV turns tighter than a compact car. In a parking garage, in a drive-thru, in a tight residential street, this thing is more maneuverable than the little car you'd assume was easier to park. Rear-wheel steering exists in America, to be fair. GMC will sell it to you on a Hummer EV. Some luxury Germans have it. But standard on a mainstream family SUV at that price, with that turning circle? That's not the configuration we get. Over here, it's a headline feature on a 6-figure Halo product. Over there, on this car, it's the baseline expectation, and Great Wall built the whole chassis around a Huawei-developed control platform that coordinates variable damping and rear steering as one system rather than 2 features bolted together. There's a broader pattern hiding in this entry, and it's the one that runs through the whole list. In the American market, advanced chassis technology travels downwards slowly. It debuts on something expensive and exotic, sits there for a full product cycle proving itself, trickles into luxury sedans, and eventually, maybe, arrives on a mainstream family vehicle a decade later. That's the normal, sane, conservative path, and it's the path our industry has followed since the invention of anti-lock brakes. In China right now, the trickle-down has compressed into something closer to a dump. Configurations that were reserved for million-yuan Halo cars 2 years ago are turning up as standard equipment in the 400,000 yuan class today. 2 years, not a decade. Which one of you has tried to 3-point turn a Suburban in a parking garage lately? Tell me in the comments how that went for you emotionally. And keep the concept of rear steering in your head, because it's about to come back much weirder at number 3. Number 4, the Xpeng X9. This is a full-size electric minivan, and I want you to sit with the phrase full-size electric minivan for a second, because America invented the minivan, perfected it, sold tens of millions of them, and then largely abandoned the segment to chase crossovers. Chrysler basically built the modern suburb. And now, the most technically advanced people mover on Earth is built in Guangzhou. The X9 measures 5,316 millimeters long, seats 7 in a 2-2-3 layout with captain's chairs in the middle, and rides on an 800-volt architecture. That voltage matters more than any single number on this list, so let me explain it once and then I'll stop. Most American EVs run 400 volts. Doubling the voltage lets you push far more power into the battery without melting the cables, which is why 800-volt cars charge from 10 to 80% in 12 to 20 minutes instead of 40. It's not a spec sheet flex. It's the difference between a road trip stop, being a bathroom break, and being lunch. The top all-wheel drive version pushes close to 370 kilowatts, which is right around 500 horsepower. 500 horsepower in a minivan, carrying 7 people and a stroller. It has active rear-wheel steering. Same trick as the WEY, making a car longer than a Suburban, genuinely easy to U-turn. Inside, there's a 17.3-inch central screen plus a 10.25-inch cluster, and the seating and materials are aimed at a level of comfort American van buyers stopped being offered decades ago. Now compare that to what a family in Ohio can actually purchase. The Chrysler Pacifica, which is a good van, is a plug-in hybrid at best. There is no full-size, 500 horsepower, 800-volt rear-steering electric minivan for sale in the United States, from anybody, at any price. The segment America created has moved on without us. And think about who actually loses from that absence. Not enthusiasts, families. The people hauling 3 kids and a dog and a week of camping gear, who currently get funneled into a 3-row crossover with a compromised 3rd row because that's what the market decided to build. A van is a better tool for that job. It always was. We just stopped making the good ones and then told ourselves nobody wanted them. Which family here would take that over another crossover? I'm curious how many of you would go back to a van if the van were this. Answer honestly in the comments, and then brace yourself because number 3 is where the engineering stops being sensible and starts showing off. Number 3. The Maextro V800. This is the Huawei-backed luxury MPV built to hunt the Toyota Alphard, the executive van that Asian business culture runs on, and it costs about $1,000,000 yuan, so this is not a budget play. It's 5,495 millimeters long, 490 millimeters longer than an Alphard, with a wheelbase stretched 430 millimeters beyond it. Dual motors making a combined 390 kilowatts, 523 horsepower. 800-volt platform, steer-by-wire. And here's the party trick. Rear-wheel steering, up to 12 degrees in either direction. 12. That gives a 5.5-meter-long luxury van a turning radius of 5.4 meters, and it enables crab walking, actual diagonal sideways movement where the front and rear wheels turn the same direction, and the entire vehicle slides laterally into a parking space rather than maneuvering into it. Let me make sure that landed. This is a van longer than a Chevrolet Suburban. It costs about what a well-optioned Escalade costs, and it can scoot sideways into a parallel parking spot like a crab crossing a beach. Now, is crab walking necessary? Absolutely not. Nobody needs it. GMC put a version of it on the Hummer EV, and it was treated as a novelty, a party trick for YouTube reviewers. But that's exactly my point, and it's the point of this entire video. Over here, that capability appears once, on one Halo vehicle, from one brand, as a marketing stunt. Over there, it's showing up across multiple manufacturers, in multiple segments, at multiple price points in the same year, because the underlying steer-by-wire technology has become common enough that everyone can play with it. When a trick becomes a feature, and then a feature becomes an expectation, that's what a technology curve moving fast actually looks like from the outside. Steer-by-wire, by the way, means there is no mechanical column connecting your hands to the front wheels. It's electronic signal only, with redundancy. That technology took decades to reach American roads in any form and is still exotic here. It is currently proliferating through the Chinese market like a software update, and the target here says something too. The Toyota Alphard is not a car most Americans think about, but across Asia it's an institution. The vehicle executives get driven to meetings in. A genuine status object with waiting lists and gray market premiums. Going after it directly, with a longer body, more power, and technology the Alphard has never offered, is not the move of a company hoping to pick up scraps. That's a company that looked at the most respected product in a segment and decided it was beatable. 10 years ago, that would have been laughable positioning. Now it's a pre-order page. We're 2 entries from the end, and the tech is about to jump another level entirely. Number 2 is where the computing power gets genuinely difficult to comprehend. Number 2. The Li Auto L9. The updated L9 launched this year with 2 versions, the Ultra and the Livies. And I'm going to focus on the Livies because that's the one that should worry people. It's a large 3-row family SUV, the direct conceptual competitor to an Escalade, or a Navigator or a Grand Wagoneer, and here's what it's carrying. 4 LiDAR units for 360-degree perception. Two in-house designed 5nm chips that Li Auto calls Mach 100, delivering a combined 2,560 TOPS of computing power. TOPS means trillions of operations per second, and for reference, the systems in most Western driver assist packages operate at a small fraction of that. This isn't incremental. It's a different order of magnitude, laying groundwork for genuine Level 3 autonomous capability where the car takes real responsibility in defined conditions. The chassis is where I actually raised my eyebrows. 800-volt fully active suspension that adjusts each of the four wheels independently, cutting front-end dive under braking and body roll in corners. A fully wire-controlled chassis, meaning steer-by-wire plus electromechanical braking. Four-wheel steering delivering a turning radius of about 17.4 feet on a vehicle this large. The powertrain is a third-generation 1.5-liter turbocharged range extender paired with dual motors, 563 horsepower, 420 kilometers of pure electric range on a 72.7 kilowatt-hour pack with 5C ultra-fast charging, and a total combined range that reaches beyond 1,000 miles. 1,000 miles of range in a 7-seat family SUV. That parks itself in a space a Camry would find tight. Now put that beside the American equivalent, honestly. A Grand Wagoneer is a genuinely nice vehicle, with a lovely interior and a big price tag. It does not have 4 LiDAR units. It does not have 2,500 TOPS of driving compute. It does not have 800-volt independently active suspension, or steer-by-wire or four-wheel steering. The gap isn't about materials or comfort, where American luxury still competes fine. The gap is architectural, and architecture is the part you can't fix with a facelift. And Li Auto is not staying home with it. They've confirmed an international model launching in the third quarter of this year, starting with Central Asia and the Middle East and expanding outward. Which brings us to number 1, and I want to give you a moment to prepare, because this sensor list is genuinely absurd. Number 1, the NIO ES9. Start with the silicon, because that's the real story. The ES9 ships with two Xpeng X9 chips, autonomous driving processors that NIO designed in-house, and which were validated as the first 5nm automotive-grade chips in production anywhere on the planet. Not the first in China, anywhere. A car company that didn't exist 12 years ago designed and shipped a class of semiconductor before anyone else on Earth managed it. Now the sensors. NIO calls the suite Cedar Aquila, and it consists of 31 individual sensors. Let me read the list because reading it out loud is the only way to feel the weight of it. One long-range LiDAR operating at 1550 nanometers, rated to 500 meters of range across a 120-degree horizontal field. 500 meters. That's a third of a mile of laser-mapped road ahead of you. Two side-mounted LiDAR units at 150 meters each. One 4D millimeter wave radar. 7 8-megapixel cameras. 4 3-megapixel surround view cameras. 12 ultrasonic sensors. 31 sensors, 3 of them LiDAR, feeding 2 in-house 5nm chips. And I want to translate what a 500-meter LiDAR range actually buys you, because a number that big stops meaning anything after a while. At highway speed, 500 meters is roughly 11 seconds of road ahead. 11 seconds is not a reaction window, it's a planning window. It's enough time for a system to see a stopped truck around a curve, understand that traffic 3 lanes over is braking, and begin adjusting before a human driver has registered that anything is happening at all. Most driver assist systems on sale here are working with a fraction of that horizon, and correspondingly, less time to think. There is more silicon, more memory, and more sensor coverage in this one vehicle than in the driver assistance hardware shipping in any 2026 model from Detroit, from Munich, or from Tokyo. Not more than the cheap ones, more than any of them. The ES9 also carries steer-by-wire, rear-wheel steering, and fully active suspension, so everything we discussed in entries 5 through 2 is present here as well, as a foundation rather than a highlight. And here's the strategic detail I keep coming back to. Tesla designs its own driving silicon, and that was correctly understood as a major competitive advantage when they did it. NIO designs its own. Xpeng designs its own, called Turing. Li Auto designs its own, the Mach 100. That's 4 companies with in-house autonomous driving semiconductor programs, 3 of which most Americans have never heard of. Chip design capability is the deepest moat in modern technology. It takes years, enormous capital, and rare expertise. And it's now table stakes for a Chinese EV flagship rather than a differentiator. So that's the countdown. Rear-wheel steering as standard equipment, 500 horsepower 800-volt minivans, luxury vans that crab-walk into parking spots, family SUVs with 4 LiDAR units and 1,000 miles of range, and a flagship carrying 31 sensors and in-house 5nm silicon. Here's what I need you to take from all of it, and it isn't the individual specs. Every single one of these features exists somewhere in the Western industry. We have rear-wheel steering, we have LiDAR, we have 800-volt architecture, we have companies designing chips. What we don't have is all of it together, across multiple brands, in the same model year, at multiple price points, as an expectation rather than an achievement. Their flagship features are showing up in their mainstream cars in about the time it takes us to schedule a mid-cycle refresh. And none of these 5 are coming here. Not because of price, since several would compete fine on price against what we charge for a loaded Escalade. They're not coming because of tariffs above 100%, regulatory frameworks with no path for them, and increasingly, proposed legislation aimed specifically at connected vehicles. So the American conversation about Chinese cars stays permanently stuck on the cheap ones, on the $10,000 hatchbacks, because those are the ones that make an easy headline. Meanwhile, the top of that market has quietly moved somewhere the American consumer will not see, cannot test drive, and therefore will never demand. That's the part that actually gets to me. Not that these cars exist, that we've built a market where you'll never stand next to one, never sit in one, never feel the difference, and so you'll never walk into a Chevy dealership and ask why yours doesn't do that. Competition doesn't only pressure companies, it informs customers. And an uninformed customer is the easiest customer in the world to sell a facelift to. So tell me where you land. Of these 5, which one would you actually want in your driveway? Ignoring the badge entirely? And the bigger question I keep chewing on, does any of this hardware genuinely improve your daily driving life? Or is a lot of it engineering theater that looks incredible in a spec sheet and changes almost nothing on a Tuesday morning commute? I lean toward it mattering, but I hold that opinion loosely and I'd like to be argued with. Comments below, and please be specific, because the good arguments in that section are half of why I make these. If this changed the picture in your head even slightly, the like button genuinely helps this channel reach people, subscribing helps more, and if you want the other half of this story, the video about the 10 cheapest electric cars on the planet is the exact companion piece to this one. The cheap cars are the headline, folks. The expensive ones are the warning. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.